Welcome back, everyone. We have one of my favorite bass players, legendary bassist Billy Sheehan. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be one of your favorite players. Thank you.
You're one of the best, man. Well, let's get into this. Mr. Big released a 10 studio record recently. How has your writing and recording approach changed since your guys' debut record?
Well, the debut record was hands-on with everybody. Pat, Paul, and myself would write song and music ideas and send them up to Eric, and he'd come back with the vocals and such. And we were all very hands-on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, pardon me one second, get my security blanket. Unfortunately, due to situation at the time, they were putting the new Mr. Big record together. Mm-hmm. I was on tour or out of the country or somewhere else. And so I didn't get to do much on the record other than play bass, which I was glad to do. But I wish I could have been involved in the writing and a couple of other aspects of it. But that's just the way the cards landed on that particular aspect of that project. So we were under a serious forced time code crunch to get that record done in time. And I wish we would have had the luxury of having an extra week or even an extra evening so we could have worked more cohesively together. But unfortunately, that was not the case. So I came in, I did my bass and background vocals, and that was about the extent of involvement I had, unfortunately. So, but I was pleased with the way the record came out, and the comments I've had regarding it have been positive. So all's well that ends well.
And then I know there's 11 songs on this record, and this is a farewell to Mr. Big. What happens in any archive songs or songs you guys wrote together that has not been released?
They're all on a hard drive about 4 feet behind me right now. I've got a huge collection of everything, every demo, every rehearsal, tons of live shows, some board tapes, some handheld cassette in the audience tapes. So my Mr. Big folder is just massive. And there were about 20 bootleg CDs available for sale around the world, maybe more. I've got almost all of those as well, and some of them are pretty good. So I should probably just post them for free because they were bootlegged off us, and that they're not supposed to do that. So maybe I got to ask somebody how do I post things like a large file like a CD so that people could just download it at their leisure and enjoy a free bootleg show from Indianapolis of 1991 or something.
That would be cool. That'd be really crazy too. And then going into this record, were any of these old songs, or did you guys write these all together, all brand new?
All brand new.
Dang, that's crazy.
So, we had, there was always some songs left over that we kind of went back and revisited sometimes. Some songs just never worked. We had one song by a famous writer, I think on the first or second record, and we hit that from every angle, and it just never quite worked. So we'd, let's try doing it this way, but change it around. Okay, all right, let's back. No, it's not it either. So we tried. So there's a couple songs of that nature here and there, and we were pretty prolific writers back in the day, but we've already kind of picked over a lot of the archives, but I could do a deeper dive at some point. And I've never been really money motivated. So if I can post it somewhere for people to get it for free, much to my wife's displeasure, you should make some money on these things. And that's okay. The fans are great. Let's give it to them. She gets mad at me. So.
And you're talking about archives. You have everything from Mr. Big. You have a huge career with so many other artists. Do you have all the archives for those bands? And with releasing Mr. Big stuff, do you plan to do the same thing with that?
Well, there's a question of ownership. Mm-hmm. Pardon me. A question of ownership, and nobody gave, to track people down and get the rights for things. I remember I did rehearsals with Michael Schenker in London for his very first record. Mm-hmm. He had some problems. Me and drummer Danny Carmassi went home. They called us to come back, and the situation was kind of difficult, so we opted to not come back. But we had cassettes of the rehearsals, just on a cassette player. So years and years and years later, just a few years ago, this was 78 or 9 that this happened. Years later, Michael put out a record and used one of those demos, and they had to get clearance from me. I didn't know. I mean, of course, I said yes. Yeah. Clearance from me, and I had to be included in whatever the royalty publishing, thing. It's quite elaborate. So to just randomly grab some track from somewhere and put it out is more, to do it legally. It's more difficult than you might imagine. So a lot of things I've got. Bunch of the Rolf stuff, tons of Talas stuff. Just about every band I've ever been in, we've got outtakes and
that's so cool,
unused track. But it's cool because I have an iTunes night. I come down here in my studio and I got a little couch and a couple of friends, a glass of wine, and we start going through the stuff. It's a riot. It's hilarious. We have a great time listening to the old stuff and all kinds of things. So
when talking about listening to the old stuff, is there any thing that always jumps out that's one of your favorites?
I've got some Van Halen in a club in LA, and I always use it to point out to people how awesome Michael Anthony is, because his bass playing on it is mind-blowing. He's kicking ass on it, and they're playing this pretty much the same set list as Talas, oddly. Funk 49 by the James Gang, almost all the songs we used to do. I guess they were universal for almost every bar band and cover band to do a lot of these same songs. And so it was very much the Talas set list from back in the day. But hearing Michael play on it, he was just kicking ass. And there's a bunch of things like that. And I got all kinds of back in the day in Japan, there were bootleg shops. Dang. You go there and they had all kinds of insane stuff. I've got the outtakes of every or alternate takes of every song from Ziggy Stardust and the Stardust from Mars.
Damn, that's crazy.
Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Ziggy Spiders and the Stardust from Mars. I guess there would be Stardust on Mars because I don't know if there's a Ziggy Spider. No, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. But alternate takes of every song. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they could put those out without, a lot of trouble.
I think when you're talking about Michael Anthony, I don't think he does get enough credit, because if you ever go back and listen to all the Van Halen songs, he's the one doing the background vocals and no one gets that.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah. He's amazing.
And bass is one of the loudest things on those records too. Yeah. Really, really great. Yeah, he's a wonderful man and a great player that I'm sure he did well for himself. I'm glad, but I think he could have had a few more a little bit more praise would have been in order, I think.
I agree. And you've been in the industry for so long. Do you have any favorite producers you like working with?
Well, the two main producers, the major guy I started out with was Ted Templeman, with on the Eat 'Em a Smile record. Yeah. I had done Woodstock tapes because we recorded them at Bearsville in Woodstock with Murray and Jay Krugman, and I think Murray Krugman had done some stuff with Blue Oyster Cult, so he was kind of a major thing. But that record was never released, and I got the whole Talas Woodstock record just sitting there. Never, I don't know how if it's legal to release it. One of the problems we had for a long time is because it was financed by our manager at the time.
Dang.
Bear with me on this story. And he became a very, very famous, huge guy, and he became one of the biggest names in Hollywood. It's Harvey Weinstein.
Oh shit!
So we didn't know how to. Wouldn't want to put a record out and have him sue us. So I don't think he's in a position to do so now.
Right.
I might add, but yeah, he was our manager at the time, and
that's insane.
Yeah, pretty wild.
That's crazy. And then like talking about writing and everything like that, you've been in so many bands, Mr. Big, Winery Dogs, David Lee Roth. How much did you contribute outside of bass with these bands? And is your approach with these bands playing wise different?
Yeah, it's usually different based more on the people that I'm with. I'm a drummer guy, so how the drummer goes, I go. And so that's very important. Locking bass and drums. The first thing I ever learned about bass before I even owned one was that you play what the drummer plays, and you make that happen. So I would adjust accordingly, more song to song. To Be With You was a massive hit, and we were just still benefiting from it to this day. Yeah. But that was very, very simple. very simple. And I love playing it. I did a couple, one kind of a Paul McCartney line. That was the da 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 da. That's it. We're learning up. That's it. I've just played it for 75 times in a row, and I can't remember. But it's right, the little bass line that Paul does just before they sing, I don't really want to stop the show, but I thought you might like the nose. That's so I borrowed some McCartney for that. So it depends a lot on the song and the mood. If it's a heavy band, you're going to play wilder. If it's a song-oriented band, there's a songwriter I produce here in Nashville named John Statham, and I played bass, straight on, root note, simple, easy. Drums was Ray Luzier from Korn, and he did the same. He just right in the pocket. Great, cool stuff. Sounded like we knew to play country, even though we probably don't. But yeah, it depends on the song, on the people you're around, on the moment, and it's never one particular approach. You know, there are many ways to view it.
Dang. And with the big farewell tour with Mr. Big, is there any songs that you guys wish you played more that you guys didn't or aren't?
Big Love. Big Love. We were going to play it at the end. All the fans were asking for it. And I tried to arrange the band to play it, but it's like herding chickens. I couldn't get every. So at the end of my solo one night, I just went. And people like, so I love that song. And it was off our first record. It really kind of spelled out what the band was about. And a lot, it was a mid-tempo song. It wasn't a fast, but it was heavy and great lyrics and a lot of vocals. And it really was. I wish we could have done that. I gave it my best. So I tagged my bass solo with it.
That would have been sick. And talking about your 10 amazing records, not compared to this song that you just mentioned, do you wish other songs got more attention that didn't?
Well, the first record had a lot of stuff on it that I really loved, but it came out in a real crowded field. And it seemed like there was 10 bands that had a guy from somewhat famous band and then 3 other guys, and they started a band. So it was Badlands, had Jakey Lee, and then a bunch of other guys around him. There's some known, but not to his extent. There was another Bad Religion or Bad. Was it with Jonathan? John Waite was in the band. Bad English.
Okay.
They came out at the same time, and a lot of bands that started with the letter B too. So when you went to the record store, it was there was about 3 feet of brand new B bands. So we all kind of got lost in the shuffle. And most of them, if it made it to a second record, didn't do nearly as well. We got lucky on our second record. We scored. So we managed to do well. But back on that first record, I wish we could have re-released it or revisited it again, because of that Big Love was a really cool song. And Anything for You was a really one of my favorites also. And a couple other songs in there. Really love that record.
It's a great record. Not gonna lie.
Thank you.
And then you've been in the industry for, like I said, quite a while. How have you learned to adapt over the years?
Well, you just try to do the right thing, try to treat people well. It's a very small industry, so jerks and people that are difficult to work with, they usually get weeded out early on. And I've tried to associate with people that I care about and that are quality people. Greg Bissonette, one of the finest people I know on planet Earth. Steve Vai, incredible.
Hell yeah.
I love and respect David Lee Roth. I'm not close to him by any means, but still he did a great favor for me. All the guys on Mr. Big, we were all pretty good friends. The Richie Kotzen, one of my favorite people in the world. So you try to stick around with people that think like you, that feel like you do, that are conscientious of others. And I don't get involved in much of the business. I usually leave that up to people that's their specialty. My main focus is pretty much here, but some people can do both. I don't necessarily. So it's nice to have people around that. But just, do unto others as you would have them do to you. That's a very important thing. And I'm a non-drugger. I haven't had even an aspirin since 1971. So,
that's crazy.
But though I don't judge or put people down who happen to, and you do your thing. But I think that it's helped me to just kind of stay on the straight and narrow, because your thoughts do change when you're when you're high. That's the whole point of getting high. So, I have a few drinks here and there, but I've never had a problem with any intoxicant. So I try to keep that, for me, keep that in, and that helps me to keep a level head to some degree. I think it's been a contributing factor, and I just try to do the right thing.
Those are all great answers. And you, like you said earlier, you were on tour when the new record was being written and recorded. You're someone that tours quite often. What challenges do you find touring now compared to the beginning?
Well, it's getting easier again. For a while, it was a little tough. We had to travel with gear and fly with gear, which was really awful. Now we ship our gear separately, and I hate flying. I don't know anybody that likes flying anymore. It's just an awful,
Right.
terrible, dreadful thing. But when we get to where we go and get on the tour bus, then it's great. In Europe, we get these beautiful coach services, German tour buses, double deckers, all leather interior and 3 lounges, and the bunks are comfy. The drivers are awesome. And in America, we always get a great bus too and a great driver. On a bus tour, I can go for an eternity. I could continue to tour for the rest of my days on a bus tour, no problem. It's really, it makes it easy for us. When you're not on a tour like that, especially when you're doing fly-in dates, that's rough. I'm glad I've never been in a situation where I had to fly in every show. It's just awful. It's just terrible. And you're likely to miss shows because they're so unreliable flights these days. It's sad, but yeah, I'm pretty good at touring though. Once I'm out there, I can stay out forever, and I got to get my routine down. And generally, we stay in decent hotels on nights off, so it's good. We get a break, a nice meal, get back to it. And we have good catering, and our crew is amazing, so they take care of everything for us. Usually have a nice dressing room, get in about 11 a.m., set up my little amp, start practicing away for hours, take a break for a little lunch, go back to practice more. Opening act starts. That means it's time for you to get dressed and get ready for the show, and then do it and repeat. And it's we have a great time with the crew on the bus afterwards. We're all hanging out, having a fun, not like hard partying, but we have a couple of drinks and a lot of laughs. And fortunately, we had some wonderful people out with us this last time. It was a joy. It was really wonderful.
It sounds like you're having a great time. And do you prefer long runs on tours? I know you said you can stay out for a long time if you have to, or do you prefer short runs?
Oh, I could either one. As long as I'm playing, it's good. Long ones are better. When a band tours for a short tour, there are costs, startup costs, that you pay off as you earn your money throughout the tour. So you have to tour a certain amount of time to make enough money to pay your start off and then maybe make a profit. So a longer tour where it means like halfway through, everything is paid, and from here on, we actually making a profit. So a longer one is generally better for a band as far as your remuneration goes. But I've never really been a money motivated guy. I love to play. If I can pay my bills, I'm good. So that's all well and good.
That all makes sense. And like I mentioned many times, you've toured for so many times. Do you have a dream tour lineup that hasn't happened already?
Well, I've been to everywhere. I haven't been to New Zealand yet, but I've been to Australia about 4 or 5 times. Haven't toured on the continent of Africa, and I have not set foot on the continent of Antarctica. So one thing I would like to do before too long is maybe do something in Africa. And then even if it's like a tourist environmental boat, you could just jump on Antarctica, play a couple notes and jump back on and go. So at least I played in Antarctica one time. So I will have played on all continents. So, but I would like to do something like that. But I've been lucky to have some pretty dream tours already. We started Mr. Big and bang, we were on tour with Rush, did the whole Presto tour, did half Roll the Bones, tour with Bryan Adams, amazing tour with Bryan Adams, was so great. Toured with Aerosmith in Europe, did the whole European Get a Grip tour with them. Toured with Scorpions and Great White in USA. A lot of great tours we've done. And as a headliner, we've done really well all over the place, all over Southeast Asia, Japan, China, Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia. That's pretty amazing. Pretty great experiences.
And I gotta ask, you're talking about Geddy Lee from Rush. Did you learn anything from him on that tour?
Oh, just how to be a much finer gentleman. That's for sure. No, he is just a great player and an amazing singer. And the band, they were so kind to us. I remember the first couple of shows we did, and then somebody from the band came in and said, "What's going on with you guys?" I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Where have you been?" I go, "Well, we're here in our dressing room." He goes, "Why aren't you in our dressing room?" "We didn't know we were allowed in there." I go, "Sure, come on in." So we got on. There's a shrimp and lobster guy. Hey, slow down, you guys. We were in there having a great time. They're so great to us. Geddy, not only is he a fine gentleman and an amazing player and just an amazing performer, all of them were just so great. You know, when you hear about a big band and you hear that, he's the biggest prick and he's a jerk, and he caused all kinds of trouble, and he, you know, was cheating on his wife and this crazy shit. You know, Rush were they're so great, and they're so huge. You know, one of the biggest bands in the world ever, and man, they were just the greatest people. And
in my opinion, you and Geddy Lee are like two of the best bass players ever. Like,
well,
bucket list for me was interviewing you, and one day maybe Geddy Lee.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. I appreciate being in the same sentence as Geddy Lee. He really is a great player. His tone is amazing, and I just think overall, though, as a talent, because he sings and he plays, and once you've been on tour, you realize in order to get up on that deck every single night and give everything you got, which you have to do what Geddy does. He's singing and playing and doing Taurus pedals, and then get done, get on the bus, go to the next city and do it again and do it again, do it again. And on tour with them, they were consistently awesome. They were always awesome. They were always spectacularly great. So I have to look at it in the big picture there. And he's more than just a great bass player, but he was able to deliver the goods every single night flawlessly, on top of it being a sweet, wonderful, amazing man. And Alex and Neil also just the best. And so it was quite a phenomenon.
That's so cool. And do you have any tour rituals or crazy eating habits on tour?
No, I'm mostly a carnivore, so I don't eat I'm a low carb, high protein, high fat guy. That keeps me pretty skinny, and no particular rituals. I try to. I don't like to be around the audience before the show. Reason being, it's kind of showbiz 101 rule. The first time people should see you is when you're on stage. It kind of ruins the whole thing. I know for me, if I was to see somebody famous before the show, it would kind of ruin it for me. I want to see him come out and be the amazing, that guy. And I love my relationship with fans and audience, but I just think it's better if you wait for a reveal and a live show than hanging out before the show. So I always tell people, hey, after show, anything. We can hang, we can have a drink. I'll meet you by the bus, say hello, I'll sign everything, take photos, whatever you want. I'm in. Before show. Plus, I'm really kind of concentrating on, I practice a lot before I play. I warm up all day. I practice a lot, and I really want to focus on that. So that's, and I don't mean to sound like a jerk that I don't want to see people before the show. That's really not it. I just really want to keep that separation to make it it's a kind of a showbiz 101 rule. You don't, a couple of rules. Never sign an autograph from the stage.
I see that all the time. It's funny.
It's terrible. First of all, everybody around there, well, where's my autograph? How come he got an autograph and we don't? And now you got all these people pushing and shoving, people getting hurt, and you're signing from the stage. And for me, that's after I'll sign anything. We were on tour in Germany a couple of years ago, and it was pouring rain in the middle of winter, and I had to bend over so my back would keep the autograph medium dry, because once water gets on the Sharpie, it stops working. And I was out there for an hour signing and taking photos, and people showing me the photos that were soaking wet and everything out in the freezing cold. I'll go all night. I'm happy to sign anything and take any photo and go above and beyond the call of duty all the time. But from the stage is kind of sacred to me. It's for entertainment. An autograph session is an autograph session, and I love them, and I do them all the time, and that's always for free. And I'll sign whatever you got. Some guy's got a stack of CD covers this thick, but we got a big line. I said, hold on, it's a lot, so just wait, let me take care of all these other people and I'll sign everything. Great, no problem. I got them all. I'm happy to do it. Ask anybody that's come to the show and met me out afterwards. It's how it is. But signing from the stage is just I think it's a bad move. People are going to get hurt. All the people are going, what, how come him and not me? That's not fair, So there's a couple things like that I'm touchy about, that I just because I want the show to be great. Yeah. I want it to be a great experience for everyone. Then when we're done and it's over, I got my shower, I got my Dickies shirt on, and I'm back out. It's all the time. And I'm always out by the bus signing stuff and taking care of people and doing whatever, to video birthday to somebody's brother or whatever. I love doing that, and I have so many great friends doing that. But from the stage, no. And what was the other one? And the thing we spoke about.
You're not. No one's seen. Yeah. See
people before the show. So those are two little things, and I violate them once in a while. Not the autograph from stage thing. I never do that. It's kind of, and plus it's kind of club band.
Yeah.
Even if sometimes we're playing in large clubs, we want to be I want people to have an experience as though it was an arena, and back in the club days, we used to step off the front of the stage and into the audience because there was no dressing room. So when you make a little bit of line of demarcation between reality and there they are on stage, I like that. As a fan, I like that. So as a player, I try to create that without, and then again, it's flexible in some situations, of course, always.
I love that, though, because I've never heard someone say that they don't want anyone to see him before they play, because I think that's cool. I appreciate that. It brings it more like, wow, like, oh my God, he's there. He is on stage,
Yeah, it's like going to see the Beatles and they had a camera in the dressing room and they're walking around in their underwear. When they walk out on stage, it's not going to be that, oh, I already seen him in his putting his pants on. It's just a thing for me as a fan, because I'm a fan. And I remember we went to see Mott the Hoople, Aerosmith, and the New York Dolls almost Halloween night in Buffalo, New York. And we went down early, and Sir Overend Watts and Morgan Fisher was their keyboard player at the time. And they needed a ride somewhere. So we gave them a ride. They wanted to go see a couple pawn shops and find some guitars and stuff. So that was cool. But I was so overwhelmed because I was such a Mott the Hoople fan. I still when Overend came on stage, I was like, I still thought it was amazing. But cool. But I generally try to keep some of the showbiz rules intact.
Those are some good roles. And being in the industry for so long, from watching like older videos like Mr. Big, David Lee Roth, anything like that, to now your gear's changed quite a bit. How much has it changed?
Well, it's remained the same, the same theory behind it, but the components have changed. And now with the digital stuff, there's a thing called a Helix. It's basically every kind of amp and mic and box and connector and speaker. It's got everything in it digitally, and it sounds awesome. And they took some of my personal gear at the company that makes it, Line 6, and modeled my gear, and so that's in the software. So if you buy it, you get my preamp and my compressor along with it too. So because it's in there, I can go out and use the Helix and get my tones really, really well. So it makes it super convenient. Before, were racks taller than I am of tons of gear, and it weighed thousands of pounds, and huge speaker cabinets. Now we're in-ear monitors, and things are smaller, quieter, more reliable, more variables that you can do. So it's morphed along with the computer and digital age. Things have followed suit with the gear that we use. Most everything is all digital something or other now, and makes life easier. You can get consistent sounds each night. We used to put a big old tube amp on a truck. It would drive to the next gig, and all the tube filaments shook for 3 hours. So it sounds completely different now. You got to go in there, and all the crazy things we used to do back in the day for the gear. You had to have a soldering iron on you at all times, and know a little bit about how to put electronics back together when they got shaken apart. So it's a little easier now. And we get good tones and good sounds, and it's our gear ships separately now, so we don't have to worry about it so much. So it's things are a little more convenient now in the digital age, if I may.
Right. And I have to ask, being a Mr. Big fan and David Lee Roth fan, do you have any of those basses from that time?
All of them.
Really?
It's in another room now, but my original P bass would normally sit right next to, well, the pink bass is behind the stand-up bass there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, it's there. Here, I'll grab it.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, this is the bass from the Eat 'em and Smile. Sorry, my chair moved in the way. The Eat 'em and Smile and first Mr. Big, the original pink Yamaha bass there.
That's so gorgeous.
It's been through a lot. And the Fender that I did everything in my whole career on, right up until early 90s when I started using Yamaha stuff.
Yeah.
That's in another room, but I have that here too, exactly as it was. Yeah, so everything is, this is its sister. When I be in a bar band, I always had a second bass in case I needed it.
Yeah.
So this is the sister to that. It's not very often seen, but it's identical to the other one. So if anything happened on that bass, I had this one here.
That's so
So
cool.
I got pretty much everything I had from back in the day. The original Telecaster that I wrote, Shy Boy, and all the Talas songs on were all written on this Telecaster. It's a friend of mine showed up at a gig, and he was kind of down on his luck, and he had a shopping bag with a neck, a Jazzmaster body, and some other parts for $35. So I bought it, kept the neck, found the body has a knot hole.
Yeah.
So it's by Schecter, but it had a knot hole, so it was a reject. So it was only $30.
Not bad.
And then I put pickups and whatever on there. I think it had the pickups already. So the whole cost of this guitar is under $100. And the Shy Boy, the whole Edeman's, no, I'm sorry, anything from Talas, sink your teeth into that.
Yeah.
All those songs were all written on this.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the Mr. Big stuff too, Had Enough and all that were all written on this. So it's for me, once you I did an interview yesterday. I think someone mentioned that, I think it was Robert Trujillo, says that once he plays an instrument or records a song or writes a song on an instrument, he kind of has to keep it.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good piece of advice from Mr. Trujillo. So I have pretty much followed that. So anything I've really done anything significant on, I've kept. A couple of things I sold off and I regretted it, but I managed to buy them back. Yeah, so that was cool. So yeah, it's important for me to keep things, and it's a nice way to go back and say, "Oh, this is what I used back then, and it feels like this." Well, I'm blowing it with a new one. Let me set that one up like this, and maybe I can play again somehow.
And talking about Talas, you're talking about Shy Boy. I was reading that you re-recorded that, of course, for David Lee Roth. How much did you change it with your writing?
Dave had an idea to change the pitch of the solo section because normally it was all in the same key. So we dropped it. It's in the key of D. So the relative minor to D is B minor. So we went down to B minor for the solo, and much better. So he generously he let me keep all my publishing on that song, which was a great thing, and helped me in my life immensely. And he got an arrangement credit, so he'll get a little chunk of publishing from that. But he was very generous to us in that band, and we had just nothing but a positive thing in my mind.
And I have to bring up the Spanish version. What made you guys do the Spanish? I always wondered why the Spanish version.
Well, I've been saying for years, though I'm sure they'll disagree, but that was my idea. We were on a plane coming back from recording at Power Station in New York City. We recorded a lot of Eat 'em Smile there. We're flying back, and there's a Time magazine that said like the percentage of population under the age of 85 in South America is like huge. So this must be a massive rock market. And I know Dave can speak Spanish, you know. So I said, we should do the record in Spanish. Like, oh, what a stupid idea. Oh, that's ridiculous. How stupid, you know. And then 2 days later, the so-called manager comes back. Yeah, we're going to record the record in Spanish. Where'd you get that idea from? It was my idea. I'm going to stand by that. I'm sticking to my story.
I sure hope you sat in the studio the whole entire time he had to sing those in Spanish. That must have been very interesting.
No, it was we used the same tracks, and then Dave and I sang it. He sang them, and I harmonized them. So I had to learn it phonetically because I don't speak Spanish. So I had to learn "Vuelto loco el calor" and "Tímido, tímido, hasta luego." So and also they had to change some of the lyrics because they were a little concerned that Mexico, being a Spanish-speaking country, was also a pretty conservative Catholic country. So some of the more lewd lyrics were kind of toned down a little bit because they didn't want to offend anyone.
That makes sense,
So
man.
there's
That's
an
just
exact match of the lyric to Spanish. That's the reason why.
I'll never forget getting into Eat 'em and Smile. I got into it when I was going to MI because our instructor Menno. I don't know if you met Menno because I know you've been to MI many times.
I
He
probably
got us into that. Yeah, he got us into Shy Boy, which got me into Elephant Gun, and then years later I found out you guys have a Spanish version. I was like, interesting. Was not expecting that.
yeah, we go down to South America. I sign a lot of them down there. There's a lot of them in
Dang.
there. Pretty cool. I thought it was great. I loved it, and
It's cool. I thought it was cool.
I almost prefer the Spanish version sometimes. Pretty cool. But yeah, I love that record, and
Same
it
here.
came out. It was a life-changing thing for Steve, myself, and Greg Bissonette. Brett Tuggle, rest his soul, also he was along with us, not for the recording, but he did the tour with us, and incredible experience. I still got a lot of outtake photos from my camera that I'll put together in some big website one day of all my bands and post all that stuff.
And you were in the industry where music videos were everything. It sold everything. Do you have anything that you kept from those, or do you have any fond memories from the time with Mr. Big making those videos, or David Lee Roth like Yankee Rose? Do you have any?
Oh yeah, it was quite amazing to do. Yankee Rose was my first video, and elaborate production. I mean, camera crews and teams and gear and sound stages, and we it was quite a thing. And then we had to perform the song about 50 times running at full speed. I remember the next day I was so sore I couldn't go downstairs. I could go upstairs, but my leg muscles were so right. I had to hold the handrails to go one leg at a time. I was so sore from doing 50 takes of the Yankee Rose running its top speed back and forth across the thing. And then when they do it, like they'd shoot each guy individually also to cut in later.
Yeah.
And he would just we'd be dripping with sweat and flying all over the place. It was like an MMA fight. I mean, it was a brutally physical thing. But what an amazing experience. And I remember we were there for the studio scene when the big fat guy, Dave in the fat suit, comes into the studio. And we saw him in that suit. And we were quite surprised. But all the stuff we wore, all the clothes, the crazy clothes we wore, they were all for the movie. Yeah. Even the fat suit, that was all designed for the movie that they were going to do. So when CBS cut funding on the movie, because they had ran into some kind of catastrophe themselves, we kept all that stuff, and that's the stuff I still have it. I will probably do a big auction soon for all my memorabilia, including all the clothes from Eat 'em and Smile, and I got the hat and shoes from Mr. Big first album cover, and
so cool.
Yeah, I got just tons of stuff, and it's nice to have, but I'm sure it'll make some other people happy, and if we can divert some funds to a worthy cause, it might be a cool thing to do. So at some point, all that stuff's going to get auctioned off more sooner than later.
There goes all my money. I'm just kidding. But you've been in talking about all your career so far, you've been in like a bunch of super groups too and worked with almost everyone. Is there a super group that you would love to put together that you haven't played in?
I don't know. I love Glenn Hughes and I love his voice, but he's a bass player, so you can't have two bass players. So if either I play tambourine or we switch off between bass. He's a great player. He's pretty awesome. I never actually played with him. I got up and jammed a couple of times. I love him very much. And but I've been lucky. There's not really much left that Billy Cobham is a drummer. He's more of a jazz fusion guy. But I play with Dennis Chambers, who was, if I dare say, an offshoot of Billy to some degree, because Dennis was such a Billy fan. And Dennis is so amazing. Lucky to have played with him. Yeah, I'm lucky. I played with most. I got up and I've sang LaGrange with Billy Gibbons on a
Yes.
G3 tour. I did that one night.
Crazy.
I sang. I played Tobacco Road with Edgar Winter one time.
That's sick.
Things like that. Got up with Cheap Trick a few years ago when Talas opened up for him and did Surrender with them. So pretty lucky. I'm pretty grateful to have opportunities like that. It's pretty cool. And I got to say, most everybody, I know very few people in the biz that are jerks.
Yeah.
I know a couple for sure, but very few. It's amazing how wonderful some of these people are. It's just great. The Cheap Trick guys are just so awesome.
I bet.
So great. And Rick Nielsen, Robin Zander, Tom Peterson, so amazing. I love them. So Bunny Carlos, just great. But so, yeah, I'm glad to say so many people in the business are righteous people.
Right. And right before we started this interview, I was listening to some of your discography. I found out that you actually were on an EP with Vince Neil and Mick Mars. You played was it Cold Ethel?
Oh yeah, that was the Alice Cooper tribute record by Bob. I forgot his last name.
Rock? Is it that guy?
No, Bob. His brother was in Kiss. Bob.
Oh, Kulick.
Yeah, Bob Kulick. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we did a bunch of things, tribute records. We did one. The Van Halen tribute record was me, Vinnie Colaiuta on drums, one of the greatest grandmasters of all time, Yngwie on guitar, and Doug Pinnick singing. We did Light Up the Skies. So Google that. It is awesome.
That's so cool.
Pretty cool. So yeah, I've been lucky to play with some great players and record with some wonderful people, and it's more to come, much more to come.
And then you were in UFO for a second. You did a tour with them, learning Pete Way's bass lines. Did you make them your own, or do you do them strictly just like him?
I stuck to the song, how it was. You know, I didn't. You know, whenever I'm playing in an established thing, I want to play how it's supposed to go. Pete Way was a wonderful guy. I knew him a bit, and he was always very, very sweet and kind to me. The UFO guys were great. There was a time in their lives there where things were kind of falling apart for the band, so it was a little sad. But it was a great honor to play with that band, and my first time to play in Europe and on the continent, and some incredible experiences. Every place we played, some monumental international event was occurring right there at that time. It was insane. We played in Gdansk, Poland, the night that Lech Walesa, the founder of Solidarity, got out of prison. So the streets were lined with Soviet tanks and military, and insane. We played in, I think it was in Rome or Milan, Italy, and our car got stopped in traffic by military police as they drove the killers of Aldo Moro, was the U.S. Representative to Italy, who was murdered. And his killers were going to court. And so our car was in the front. So the motorcade went by. We were in Portugal when Portugal decided they may not re-sign with NATO. And our hotel was right on the water. And F-14s were going over our hotel at a really low level, because I think the U.S. is trying to say, I think you better stick with NATO. So who knows what happened. And then in Lyon, France, we played. And that was the day they bought Nazi Klaus Barbie, the butcher of Lyon, to trial. And I think he had been missing for years. And they brought him to trial in Lyon, France, again, right while we were right there. And the place was all covered with military and police all over it. So it was quite a noteworthy tour. Every place we went, some crazy thing was going on.
Sounds insane and very intense. I mean, especially in the 7. Wow. Mind blowing. And I have to bring up so you had like a short stint where like in the early 2000s you were releasing your own stuff. Can we see that from you again? Do you have anything in the works for Billy Sheehan?
Yeah, I'm going to do another solo record. I live here in Nashville now, and one of the reasons I moved here was Ray Lugier moved here, and he would play drums on several of my solo records, and we're really good friends. We have a production team together. We do bass and drums for artists that ask for it. And our producer, Scott Bush, is here as well. And so we're going to get to work on that pretty soon.
Oh, hell yeah.
I got some other recording to do in the meantime, but we got a lot of pieces of songs ready to go and stuff like that. So we're gonna do something along those lines, and a few other projects together as well.
And so Mr. Big's gonna end, as we've been talking about. So we're gonna expect that from you. Do you expect you doing any other projects too?
Yeah, I'm in touch with 3 or 4 other situations with varying people in it, deciding on if, when, and how we might go out and tour or do a record. So we'll see. Hopefully, I can get something together in time to be out touring next summer.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
And I have to bring up too again, like you've been on with everyone. Do you have any favorite recordings you've done, or have any favorite things, like music wise?
Well, the my big, I think my big three are "Eat 'Em and Smile," the second Mr. Big record, and the first Winery Dogs record.
Oh, that's a good one
But
too.
I might have to make it the big four because the Talas 1985 with Phil Narrow singing before he passed away, it was a miracle record. He came, he sang so great,
That's so
and
cool.
we lost him soon after. But the whole record, we were just the mix of it is just great, and we Talas finally charted.
Right.
with
That was pretty cool. That was actually pretty cool. And then do you have any favorite bass lines you've written?
Paul Samwell Smith from the Yardbirds. They did a song called "Lost Woman," and it was a really it was a really cool, way early on, way before you were born, my dear, back in the late 60s. And I heard that, and it was like Yngwie on bass at the time. We couldn't believe it. And I sat down with my record player and picked the notes out and learned that thing. But there's a million, anything McCartney's ever done is just perfect and exquisite and amazing. I love Sting's playing a lot too.
It's insane.
James Jamerson, Geddy, of course, Entwistle, Chris Squire, Lemmy. I was in the Rainbow one night, and Chris Squire and John Entwistle came. We all sat together.
Yeah.
And somebody took a picture. I got that. But then Lemmy showed up, and somebody took a picture of that. So all four of us in the same booth talking crazy stuff. And they posted it on the wall, and somebody stole it. So,
well, that makes sense. I would steal that. That's some stealing worthy photo like that. All the greats in one booth. Now you're just missing Getty. Then you have like all the greats.
Well, three of them anyway. So I'm kidding.
But right.
Right on. Yeah, it was I fortunate to become acquaintances with Chris Squire, a little bit with Lemmy, and definitely John Entwistle as well. The Rainbow Bar and Grill days back in the day, and they were wonderful people. And it was just a fun time together. Just great, just sweet, great stories, and amazing. It was really cool.
And is there any bass lines you wish you did differently on any of your records? Looking back now.
No, I think it's all. Unfortunately, I don't do much second guessing on what I do. I think it was. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Of course, there's nothing I can do about it. So,
well, of course,
why drive myself crazy? But yeah, I'm lucky to play with great people on records that I love. And unfortunately, a lot of people go on YouTube and just post my solos. And so people, all he ever does is a solo. Like, well, listen to the record, and there's bass on there. So, but yeah, there's even the "Just Take My Heart" by Mr. Big. I love that song. That I used a 6-string bass on that. That's insane. All over there. And "To Be With You," just fantastic. And there's another ballad we do called "Promise Her the Moon." Really, just a beautiful song. Yeah. Really easy. Almost. It sounds fretless, but it's not. And the same thing on "Wild World," the Cat Stevens song.
I love that one.
A famous fretless player called me up and said, "Hey, I heard your new single. You're doing fretless on the guy." No, it's not fretless. I managed to make the strings whine a little bit to make it sound kind of fretlessy, and that was cool. So, yeah, not too much second guessing on some things.
That one's beautiful. Not gonna lie, because I'm a big Cat Stevens fan. So that's.
Oh, I always was too. Way back in the days of Peace Train and Catch Bullet 4 was a great record of his. I was a big Cat Stevens fan.
He's amazing.
Really?
And then with newer bass players, do you have any ones in the industry right now that you currently are into?
Unfortunately, I don't keep up on things like I would like to. I just saw Testament. We played Testament and Mr. Big were on the same bill. And I forgot the bass player's name, but he was fantastic.
Steve, I think it's Steve DiGiorgio, right?
I think so.
Oh, he's insane.
He was great. And the whole band was amazing. I just loved. I was such side stage, and it was just great. I just loved the band. Their drummer was amazing.
Right.
This kid, the young kid, and oh God, he was kicking ass completely. That was one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. Testament. Oh man, they were great. Really cool. I dig that. I like a lot of heavy metal stuff. Some people might not think that's the case, but I was, heavy into, well, not only you call it really heavy metal now, but Priest and Accept and bands like that.
So heavy metal. Those are the starters of heavy metal. So, part of them.
Huge AC/DC fan. If I had to pick one band, even in spite of the Beatles, I might have to say it's AC/DC. I've been a Beatles fan since I saw them on the Ed Sullivan Show. Their first thing they ever did. They're why I'm a musician.
Yeah.
But I still might have to go with AC/DC because they're just so awesome.
But then we raised the question: are you a Bon Scott fan or a Brian Johnson fan?
That's a good question. Bon, of course, but one of the greatest recoveries of a band was done on the shoulders of Brian Johnson, and the Back in Black record is one of the greatest records ever made. So as much as I love Bond, you cannot deny how amazing Brian Johnson was on that record. Just brilliant. And Cliff Williams on bass.
I know. Underrated.
Criminally underrated because it's just so great. Without him, I don't know if those records would have been what they were.
What I want them to release Back in Black with Bon Scott because they wrote that whole record, they recorded it, and then he died, and then they had Brian Johnson.
I've heard that rumor. I don't know if it's true. Maybe you know better than I. It could very well be. But I know lyrically that's Bon. That's Bon Scott.
Oh.
And that's the only thing. The subsequent records after Back in Black, great, really good, well written by Brian Johnson. But Bon had a thing, like David Lee Roth has a thing with lyrics. There's a thing there that is just a very special. I read Ted Templeman's book. He talks about David Lee Roth. And I love Dave's voice, but his lyrics put Van Halen in a whole different category. I
agree.
And I think Bon Scott's lyrics all through and up to Back in Black, pretty amazing. But I cannot deny the awesomeness of Brian Johnson and how no pressure. You got to replace Bon Scott and AC/DC. Wow. And he came and killed it.
He killed it. Amazing. And they're still a huge name. Most bands replace their singer and then they kind of just disappear.
Yep. Yeah. Once in a while, you get lucky. You can get a new guy in there and it works, but it's pretty tough, especially a guy like Bon Scott. I mean, he was just.
I agree. And then you've achieved so much in your career already. Do you have anything left on your bucket list? I know you talked about traveling earlier, but anything other than that?
No, I just want to continue playing and become a better player, a better songwriter. I'm singing a lot now, and I had some great vocal coaching before I left LA by a guy named Ron Anderson, who was one of the greatest in the world.
Yeah.
When Bono blows his voice out, they would fly Ron Anderson in to fix him. He was the grand master. Did Ozzy, Janet Jackson, Axl Rose, Tori Amos, everybody. He was just the greatest. And I had the great opportunity to sit down with him and help my voice a lot. I always sang my whole life, but now as I'm getting older, my voice is actually going up in range, which is usually the opposite is true. So yeah, just sing more, play more, be better, write better songs, perform more. Do more. More is more. And
is there any advice you'd give your younger self?
Advice I give myself?
Yes, your younger self.
Practice more, write more, play more, and I don't know. There's always time I can look back and when I did that thing when I could have been writing a song. So and I don't do much outside of the realm of music. I'm here in my little studio all the time. I'm learning songs to record on Friday. 10 songs I got to record. I'm always practicing. I was coming up where I'm inventing a couple new devices for electronics for a musical instrument or performance, whatever. So I'm always doing something. But the thing that really has paid off the best for me is my playing and songwriting. So I should really concentrate on those two more than anything else.
Agree.
So that's my advice to me.
And then you have such a huge catalog. If someone was listening to you for the first time, I'll do albums because it's such a huge catalog. What 5 albums would you suggest them to listen to?
Probably the Lean Into It album. That really kind of covers all the bases in many ways. For a single song, there's a couple songs on my last solo record that I was really pleased with, and I thought really demonstrated the whole picture.
Yes.
Vocals, music, and songwriting. So a couple of things from there. A song called "A Little Bit'll Do It to You Every Time." Billy Gibbons came in and did the solo on that.
That's
Amazing. And another song called "The Lift" was a kind of a power punk song, but came together very well.
Dang, that's a pretty good list though.
Yeah.
And for anyone keeping up with you, where can they keep up with you, like social media wise, website wise?
Well, I usually have to block, delete, and report 3 or 4 fake Billy profiles and pages every day.
That makes sense.
Facebook does nothing about it. They're just so awful. And they really cause a lot of trouble. They get in there and they fool fans into thinking stuff. And I've had people that were, sadly, they should have known better, send these people money, thinking that it was me. Everybody, I'm fine. I don't need any money. I'm good. But on social media, there's blue check mark for certified on Facebook, on my Instagram, and you can tell it's me because there's I got about 500,000 followers on Facebook. I got a band music page and then a personal page because when I started the personal page, I didn't know it was limited to 5,000. So I hit the ceiling. So I started the band musician page, but the same stuff gets posted on both, and you can write to me on both, and I get it and I read it and I respond. Same with Instagram and Twitter as well. So a lot of people think it's not me, and I always tell them it is. Then if they keep on going, I go, well, if you don't think it's me, why are you so right?
And I'd like to thank you for taking the time to be on my show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and good questions. And they came fast and furious too. That was good.
Right. Thank you. And then I'm going to end the interview.